Do you want to get to their personality?
Let's do it. So, in terms of personality, they are generally good beings.
Generally.
But
Generally.
they are individuals, complete individuals, just like any other race. You obviously don't have like a player character as a storm giant because you're already at like the top of the food chain as that. But they're just like individuals like anyone else, like a human. And so because of that, they're not always good. They can be corrupted by power. They can have evil motivations. They can have anywhere in between. They can have any personality. But there are some things that they will be like that kind of unite all of them in a general sense, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So, to start, they are very meditative, stoic. They're deep thinkers, and that is linked to their motivations, which we'll get into later. Do you got anything to add to personality?
Yeah, I mean, they always they want to be isolated. That's kind of like one of their things. And they think of themselves as the heroes of giant kind, or the best of giant kind, which they are. They would spank literally every other giant type. Cloud giant might run for his money, but
they
Storm
know it.
Giant is ripped, yes. So they think of themselves as the best, and they think, mortals are just a waste of time, which they kind of are. But, generally, Storm Giants think they are the best, like every other big sentient thing in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically it. Do you want to move on to motivations, unless you got anything else?
No, I got two more things. So I mentioned being meditative, deep thinkers. They this is linked to their ability to foretell future events, and this is very linked to their personality. Because if you were to come across one, you're going to come across a being that is very focused on the meaning of small details of the world. And will be constantly thinking about it and just wondering, like, oh, what does this mean? Or, like, is that an omen? And that's kind of like what they're linked to, and we'll talk more about why. But so, like, if you walked up to one, it might be like, the stars burnt bright last night. What could that mean? And that's going to be like, they're going to be talking about those things. They may not really care to talk to you about anything else.
Honestly, I mean, they think you're like, they might not even hear you at first. You're like a squeaky mouse to them. So they're like, what? What do you say?
Yeah.
Can't hear you. like literally,
True.
Speak up.
And they can have information on, the rise and fall of kingdoms, as it's said, like the wealth of individuals and like the fortune of others, and so they can have lots of information, and this information, depending on what they have and what they've acquired, can affect how they're acting. And so you might have a storm giant that has read this omen that says a great evil's coming, and so now you have this storm giant that's no longer a deep thinker meditative. They're like preparing, or they're like very ambitious, trying to stop something or start something. So that's one thing that affects their personality. Another just kind of base thing about giants and them is they do have a temper, and they expect to be respected. So you don't want to disrespect a storm giant. And if you do, although even a good one can, out of anger, accidentally just either kill you, destroy cities.
How do you accidentally destroy a city?
Well, they're so powerful that they'll get in this rage. There'll be this giant, like, storm, like a torment, and then bad things will happen as a result. And then afterwards, they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, guys," right? They'll feel bad about it, but that can still happen.
Sorry, I just slaughtered a city population. I just got angry because this kid thought he was better than me at this one thing.
No, pretty much. So if you have if you're role playing a storm giant and the players are not respecting the storm giant, then you definitely should be getting angry, because storm giants don't take that. They're not like submissive, right? They're like, I am the top. I see you as a lesser being, and I'm gonna be nice to you. But wait, if you disrespect me,
you're my soccer ball now.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's them in general. So they're generally good, but just like humans are generally good, I guess I can say.
There can be some evil ones out there.
But yeah, they can definitely be evil.
Yeah.
And they're deep thinkers, but can be angered. All right, that is their personality. Let's go to motivations.
All right, so their motivation. So basically, you're probably wondering, so why are they sitting there thinking of like just omens and stupid crap, But then the storm giants, what they're really doing is they want to find an omen that their great giant dad, their god, his name is Adam.
No, it's oh god, it's
Adam.
Anam. It's
Adam.
Annam.
So Adam.
Anam. Yeah, Anam.
I don't know. Yeah. So
Anam the All-Father.
Yeah. So basically, they're waiting for their dad. Basically, literally their dad, to come back and, be their dad again. Because their dad... So we're going to get into some history.
Their dad
left. A little gist of history. So basically, there was this big giant dad, Anum, all right? He was chilling, and he looked at this mountain. And the mountain was actually a demi-goddess. And he was like, ooh, I like that mountain. So he had kids with her. And she wasn't really loyal. She went off with other gods, but we'll get to that later. But basically, that's how the giants were born.
Yeah, and then he said to all the storm giants, "I'm going down to the convenience store to get a pack of cigarettes. I'll be right back."
I'm getting some milk.
And never returned.
Well, I mean, sort of, but it's a little more than that.
No, I'm just kidding. That's like that classic like meme or whatever. Like,
I'm getting some milk, son. I'll be back.
Yeah, never comes back.
Oh.
Yeah, it's laughable. All right. Anyway. Yes, so one of their motivations is to bring back the glory days of Anam, the All-Father,
and
their father.
And also the glory days of the giant empire that used to exist, but oh no, dragons appeared, and dragons were like, frick you, we're better, and giants said the same thing back, so they fought about it, and Adam was just mad. Like, I mean, I guess he wasn't mad, he was like, I'm just disappointed, that typical deadline. So
yeah.
He left. And now the storm giants are like, we want him back because giants are actually very endangered. There's like 500 of them left of each type, which is kind of alarming. So they're very endangered and they want their dad back, which is kind of depressing.
Yeah. They're at this interesting intersection between the past and the future because they have this memory of the great old days, right? The good old days when giants were like the top dog and they kind of ruled the world.
Oh, they got an empire, a giant empire.
Yeah, and then the dragons came and they fought. But so they have this in their mind, and really everything they want is linked to just bringing that back. But to do that, they're very future oriented. So their motivations are very far in the future because they live so long. They're these divine beings in a way. They have divine blood, and so all their motivations are so far reaching that it's really hard for mortals to even comprehend them. But even though these motivations are very far in the future, they're linked to their past, and so it's this idea of like we're just trying to get back to what we were, but to do that we have to think ahead very far. And so they're using omens and stuff to kind of shape the world.
Yeah. That's actually a really good way of saying it. Yeah, so basically they sit like the thinking man and they think of ways to get their glorious empire back, even though it probably won't happen because there's only 500 left of them. But yeah.
It may happen.
They hope their dad comes back with some milk. So
yeah. But if we were to give a motivation for like one that us mortals can understand, it would be in the moment to understand the omens that are getting shared to them and just look at the world, see the omens that the world gives them and interpret them as best as they can. And they're always trying to do that as best as they can, which includes just meditating on it, some occasionally sharing omens with others and communicating about what they could mean, or maybe just talking with your players about what they think. Maybe if your players show to be like intelligent.
If your players were curious about like the omens and stuff, the storm giant's like, I get to talk with someone about it.
It's kind of like if someone asks you as a DM about
your world,
your world, your lore. The Storm Giant's going to be like, oh my god, I would love to talk through this.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk
exactly.
about it.
And then you got to sit there for about like 3 hours. And
Yeah, don't disrespect.
Yeah, don't disrespect.
Yeah, so just have a session of just you as the DM monologuing as Storm Giant. Just like a ramble of like what omens could mean. And
you see, that crow flew over there and went to the left wing. That only means a kingdom's going to fall soon, about 300 years from now.
Or does it mean it's going to rise since the crow was ascending? Yeah, anyway. Okay, so that's their motivations. Any other motivations you got?
No.
Okay,
Basically, it's just they want their dad back with the milk.
Yeah, they want their dad back, and they're using
And
omens to do it.
And they want the empire again. They want the giant empire.
Yes.